I think the recent decisions of the Supreme Court, particularly the overturning of Roe v. Wade, are so mentally disturbing to the American left that it is exposing a lot of demons of society. Because it's not really just about abortion at this point, although that is their highest sacrament. It's also the revulsion and the backlash that you're seeing against this lesser decision that was issued today about a high school football coach who liked to pray during games, and he was fired for praying. A pretty blatant First Amendment violation. You're not supposed to fire someone from their job, because they pray. Kind of the opposite of the freedom of religion when your employer is the government. It would be one thing if you got fired from a private school that, I don't know, they're private Christian schools. Maybe it was a private atheist school, and they hate seeing anybody with prayer because they're an atheist school. Okay, that'd be one thing for them to fire them, but, this was a public school. This is the government, and the government can't infringe upon your religious rights, and so the government can't discriminate against you as an employee because you're not an atheist. And, it's just such a minor thing. It should be something that everybody, generally should agree on. Yet it had to make its way all the way up to the Supreme Court. And people are pissed about that. People are out in the streets pissed about, Roe v. Wade, that they just want to kill their baby. There are women walking around that are very pregnant. They got a big old belly with a big baby inside them. They're probably 8 or 9 months along. And they got written in Sharpie on their belly, not yet a human. You've got men walking up to these man on the street reporter types. I guess this guy worked for InfoWars or something, and he was telling the guy, this is a guy on the street telling the reporter, "Yeah, I love killing babies." I mean, and he was doing it in that deep, like, demonic voice. These are women who put, shout your abortion stickers on their laptops that they take to Starbucks and, into their college classes. These are men like Dave Portnoy who, want to have unlimited casual sex and engage in the most depraved sexual activities without any, ever being held accountable, without any risk of ever having to, actually parent a child that you conceive. They want to spread their seed far and wide and then take the fruit of their loins and run it through a meat grinder every last time. And they're being open about it now. This is very, very different from the old slave legal and rare days. And I know everybody recognizes that. We recognize we're no longer in the safe, legal, and rare era. But I don't think most ordinary pro-choice Americans, people who identify as pro-choice, had really seen this bubble until it bubbled to the surface. I think that this is going to, on net, it's gonna convert more people to the pro-life side, because the people who are out in the streets who are upset about this are pure evil. These are not misguided people. These are not people who don't understand what life is and isn't. These aren't people who have been tricked into thinking, it's just a clump of cells and it doesn't matter then. These are people who are 7, 8, 9 months pregnant saying, I want to run it through a meat grinder. I want it dead. I want it to cry and be ripped limb from limb while it's still alive. These are the most evil people on the planet at the forefront of this movement. And I think that the best thing that pro-life folks can do right now is elevate their voices. The pro-choice crowd needs to be heard now more than ever, because they've completely dropped all sense of optics. These are not people who are trying to appeal to the general population. These are demons, pure and simple, with no mask. They're unadulterated, unsanitized, and they feel like they can just be completely honest about their evil intentions. Think about it. They're managing to be more sick and depraved than Big Gay, than the rainbow alphabet people, who supposedly have dominated this whole month. Steve Deace had an idea today, which, by the way, Steve Deace, I don't listen to him very much, but he's he's one of the best guys on this sort of stuff. I'm not a religious person, although despite what it sounds like today, I've never set foot in a church, never prayed. I don't do any of that. But when I want to get a religious conservative perspective, Steve Deace is the guy I go to. He's, to me, he's the best representation of that movement. And his idea was to completely co-opt the month of June and turn Pride Month into Life Month. And I think that's exactly what we should do from now on in the month of June, because I'm absolutely disgusted. Gay pride parades were bad to begin with, but that was one day a year. Now they want to do it for an entire month. They want to put it all over TV. They want to put it in all the advertisements. They want to have bottom-friendly menus at restaurants. And if I wasn't disgusted enough with that, the left has to top off this month with rioting over their supposed human right to run their own children through a meat grinder. I've never been more convinced that this is this is the singular most evil thing on the planet, and it should be the number one focus of all righteous people until it's completely eradicated. And I've never been more focused that this is a winning issue until I listen to, the mainstream voices. I mean, hell, Anna Navarro, a pro-choice Republican. What is her response to Roe v. Wade? My brother is mentally disabled. That's why we need abortion. I mean, you have these, and this is this should be the moderate. She's a Catholic, she's a Republican, but even she's pro-choice. So she's supposed to be the most vanilla pro-choice, abortion supporter, Roe v. Wade supporter on television, on The View, a very highly rated television show. And what has she said? My grandchild has Down syndrome. My brother is, in the literal sense, mentally retarded. She said he has the essentially the mental skills of a 1-year-old. That's why we need to have abortion in this country. I mean, and nobody was appalled by that. And if that's the most vanilla and the most tolerable and the most sanitized version of the pro-choice message, we need to get them out there. We need to get them talking about this all the time. We need pro-choice people constantly talking about abortion. We need to make abortion the number one issue in every election. Because how do you lose when you're arguing against people who want to run a fully developed child through a meat grinder, not even because they have some defect? That's the conservative position, is that, if they're mentally disabled or something, or if they have some kind of birth defect, well, then we need to kill them. We need to nip that in the bud, literally. The liberal position is just that for any reason, at any time, at any point in the pregnancy, or perhaps even 28 days after the pregnancy, you should have the right to kill your baby, just for convenience. So that's your choice. Is it a eugenics thing? Is it that you don't want mentally disabled people or disabled people of any kind walking this planet? Or is it just about convenience? In order to defeat good, you have to lie. You have to convince people that good is evil. But when you're trying to defeat evil, out and out evil, you don't have to lie. You just use their own words. That's all you do. It'd be so easy. I don't care what polity you're in, whether you're in a swing state, red state, blue state, whatever. You put ads out on TV. They're just compilations of what these pro-choice supporters have had to say in the streets. You put out what Anna Navarro says. You put out pictures of this woman walking around with "not a baby" written on, over her stomach. That's all you need to do. And you're not going to lose on that issue, I guarantee you. Ordinary people who are not politically involved, who just go about their daily lives, not thinking about this stuff too much, they have enough sense of good and evil in them implicitly to where they can make the right decision if they're given the information. People who are down deep in this darkness, you're not going to convince them. You don't even need to try. Pro-choice activists, they eat this stuff up, literally. Every one of them is just an army of Elizabeth Bathory's bathing in the blood of children. The pro-choice movement wants your child's life to be snuffed out before they can even breathe fresh air, before they can even see the light of the sun. And if somehow they escape that, big gay, the LGBT rainbow alphabet movement, wants to sexualize your child at a young age and mentally cripple them. And if somehow your child survives all that, the military-industrial complex wants to ship them off to die in a sandbox or in the Asian steppes, trying somehow to win a land war against Russia, probably in the wintertime. That is, if this war hasn't already provoked a nuclear holocaust. That's just a slice of some of the evils that the forces of good have to contend with these days. But the good news is that evil is not hiding itself any longer. Those of us who would have given a lot of people the benefit of the doubt, who were perhaps more optimistic or naive when it comes to the goodness and the righteousness of our adversaries, we don't have to worry about that anymore. We don't have that sense of doubt. It's easy to see if you listen to people's own words. You don't have to read between the lines who is good and who is evil. And that's why I'm optimistic. I think that this is much greater than anything to do with politics or elections. It's just a simple battle between good and evil. Those who will embrace and take up the mantle of goodness and righteousness against such open evil will win out in the end. So, with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.